morning, good afternoon, guys. We're back for another Geek Tavern. It's me, Shawn, and as always, I'm joined by Mike.
Yo.
And Aaron.
What's up?
And, before we jump into our recommendation, we'll just go over what we saw in our interim. I saw a couple of movies. I watched Spike Lee's new movie, The Five Bloods, on Netflix. I thought that was pretty good.
I was there.
I also saw The Other Guys. I rewatched The Other Guys and rewatched Spider-Verse.
Yes.
So
I rewatched that pretty recently too.
Yeah,
I think it was actually before our last episode, but I forgot
Still
about
such
it.
a great movie.
My brother hadn't seen it, so we watched it.
it's nearly a perfect movie.
He's
in my
like-
opinion.
Jalen had mentioned, because I posted that meme, and it was about, it said good movies, and it was Miles on the side of the train, like in the portal, and then it was Kingpin's hand coming through and grabbing Miles by the face. It's a studio interference. And he was talking about it, and I said, I think it's the best Spider-Man movie, honestly.
That's what my brother's one friend always told him ever since it came out. He's like, that's the best Spider-Man movie.
I think it is.
And my brother didn't quite get why, because he hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And after he saw it, he's like, all right, that's the best.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
all I had
It's
to do
really
was
great.
watch that once, and I had absolutely no expectations going in.
I didn't watch it until I bought it.
Yeah.
I didn't even.
And all I had to do was watch it once, and I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You'll never make another Spider-Man movie that's better than that.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the sequel will be just as good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, hopefully.
I think that there's news of that recently. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
I think the release date was like a couple months ago that they said when it was coming out.
Yeah.
2022, I think.
I forgot
It's too long.
I just realized the biggest thing that I seen. Obviously, I had seen it a million times, but I got to see Back to the Future in the theater. That was
A whole different experience.
It's a whole different world. Like, you notice things that you've never noticed. You know, like me, I saw it with my cousin, and we were just picking like different things. Like, we'd see something because there wasn't like a lot of people. There was like maybe another couple people in the back or something, but like we would just point stuff out like that we just never seen before, because it's obviously on the big screen.
Mhm.
Like you see, like when he goes back in time, you see all the signs in like shops that you don't even pay attention to, so
Stuff that's too small on your
it's too
on
small.
your TV screen to notice.
Yeah. So that was a great experience.
Probably
And,
felt like you were in 1985 watching.
I mean, when it kicks into that power of love,
yeah.
it's like, holy shit. Like, I listen to music through pretty good headphones, but like, it's just a different experience with that big.
We have to go
sound
see
system.
Jurassic Park this week.
I know, yeah.
'Cause that's one that came out before.
I'm glad that that's still still there.
That came out before I was born, like 1 year before. So
What was it, 93?
93.
So
I was 3, so
wanna-
even if I would have seen it, I
definitely
would
wanna
have
watch it.
probably no recollection of it.
Was some other news you wanted to talk about before we get into?
Oh yeah, I started F is for Oh, that's not the news you wanted to talk about.
No, I mean that.
I did start F is for Family though. I recommend that. It's pretty funny.
I'm a big
There was
fan of
actually
Bill
a
Burr,
joke
so-
last night.
What's that on?
In,
I don't know what
on Netflix. It's Bill Burr's
it is.
cartoon show,
Oh, okay.
and it has like Sam Rockwell, Laura Dern, Justin Long. Like it's a pretty good cast. There was a hilarious joke. He's watching TV, and he's watching some Sports Center thing, and these guys are like, "All right, that was brought to you by White House Beer, the only draft you won't want to dodge." And I was like, that is hilarious. This show takes place in the 70s, like around the Vietnam War.
Okay.
So like they made that joke, and I literally just laughed out loud. I was like, you know what? That's hilarious.
That's pretty good.
Yes. So we do have some solemn news. Sir Ian Holmes has died today at the age of 88. You may remember him as Bilbo Baggins or Ash, the robot from Alien. I know he's been in a lot of other things, but those are the two.
Okay, that
the
makes
geeks
more
are gonna
sense.
know.
Yeah.
They're gonna know him from more.
Yeah. Sad news.
Yes, very sad news.
Yeah.
He will be missed. He's going on another adventure, as you said earlier.
Yes. The beginning of another adventure. Well, if we don't have anything else to talk about,
I don't think that we do.
I don't know of
There's
anything.
really no like big news, no
I-
movie news, anything like that.
Yeah,
I saw that AMC theaters
We're
are
going to start reopening next month.
and requiring
making
that you wear a
masks.
mask.
That's going to be. We wear masks all day, so I'm accustomed to it now. But
Yeah.
like people that aren't
Right.
sitting in the movie theater with a mask on for 2 hours is going to probably be annoying for them.
Well, here's my thinking. Like, how does that work with eating popcorn?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah, eating
Cut a
popcorn
hole.
and drinking.
Cut a hole right.
like I just want answers.
Oh, that is. I didn't even think about that
Yeah.
because I never get anything when I go to the movie
I
theater.
don't very much either.
Well,
but
I feel
I'll get a
like
drink.
if they do it like our local theater, wear a mask into the lobby. And once you get to your seat,
yeah.
and if they're doing like they are doing at our theater, where it's every other seat unless you're family members, like if they're splitting people up, then you really don't
Well,
need the mask.
I was wondering how that worked too, because when I bought tickets for Back to the Future, like I just bought me and my cousins both, and it let me pick any seat. Like
Yeah.
I could pick beside each other.
Yeah, and I think since they know us, like they're more
Yeah.
lenient with like you guys can sit together, it doesn't matter. But I
Yeah.
think like if other people come in, they're like, okay, there's already somebody sitting here, so you need to sit over here, you know. But since we frequent there, they're just like, you guys can sit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the problem with it is that that's in the actual theaters whenever the problem, because everybody's breathing the same air.
Yeah.
The same thing. You know, that's when you need the mask on. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's like that scene in Outbreak where the guy's like coughing, and then
Well, yeah.
everybody gets it, and then they have to lock the whole town down, and then they're gonna nuke it at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that'll be.
So before they have to nuke our town.
That'll be Oklahoma because they're being ravaged by the pandemic right now. Still, everybody else is kind of easing off, but they're just still getting.
I just saw something that California just now made it mandatory that everybody has to wear a mask, and I thought that kind of stuff in those places were already
Yeah,
like
Yeah,
I have no
because
idea.
those major populations.
Unless it was
areas
only
got
the
hit
cities.
hardest.
yeah,
and maybe now it's just like all of California.
that could be.
Maybe that's what it is.
Well, and then an earthquake will happen, and they'll drift off into the sea, and we won't have to worry about
Hey,
them
I-
anymore.
I have family over there. Not that any of them.
They live on the
I-
San Andreas
tell
fault
them
line.
I'm very sorry for their loss of living in California.
They live
we have our collective condolences.
They live in San Diego. My uncle was a cop in San Diego.
Huh.
So that shit would be pretty crazy.
Yeah, that might be a great way to live right now.
Yeah. Well, he's been retired for
Yeah.
like 20 years.
Anyway, I guess we'll jump right into it. I'll do the honors of starting us off with Gamera, Guardian of the Guardian of
Universe,
Guardian
not
of the
galaxy.
Universe.
Gamera is not a guardian of the galaxy.
Should
That'd be awesome, though. Could you imagine if they didn't have the Milano and they just
somebody-
rode on his back?
Before I get into the synopsis, my friend Chris sent me a tweet. James Gunn. Somebody tweeted at James Gunn and was like, "Is it true that Speed Racer is going to be a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy?" And he was like, "Yes, Speed Racer, and I forget who else are going."
Wait, did James Gunn direct that?
What?
Speed Racer.
I don't think. No, the Wachowskis directed
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yeah,
How do you make The Matrix and then make a garbage movie like that?
everything that they've made has just been worse and worse as
Oh,
they
that's
keep
right.
going.
They did Jupiter Ascending too, which
Yeah.
is on Netflix, and I kind of want to watch it just to see how bad it is.
I remember I wanted to see that when it came out.
Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah.
It looked like the premise was
And then I heard it was
interesting,
just absolute
and then
garbage.
it's just dog shit.
Anyway, back to Gamera, the Guardian of the Universe. So,
You want me to preface like with a little history of Gamera?
yeah, why not?
Okay.
Well, I get my ducks in a row
I
here.
was gonna say since you're doing the first movie, I'll give everybody an introduction. Back in 1954, Toho Studios created the original Godzilla. Became very popular. About 10 years later, a company called Dai, which is now owned by Katakawa Studios, produced a film called Gamera, and it was supposed to be a competitor to Godzilla. Now, this movie, if you've ever watched the original 1965 Gamera, is very laughable. Like, hilariously laughable. Like, it has a decent story, but the effects are bad. It's 1965 and the movie's still in black and white. So that tells you how far behind this studio was. And each movie afterward, because they tried hard to keep up with Godzilla. Like, they have 12 movies, or 12 Gamera movies total. And they tried to keep up with Godzilla, and after, like, 1980, they were like, yeah, no.
I was going to say, how many does Godzilla have?
35.
Yeah, okay.
36 when Godzilla vs. Kong comes out. But Gamera, like, the last movie before this trilogy, Gamera was in the movie for maybe, like, 5 minutes, and it was just stock footage shots of him. Like, there wasn't anything new. The studio paid nothing to create more monsters. They had, like, these 3 alien girls who were, like, trying to stop some evil emperor who was in a knockoff Star Destroyer coming to Earth. And it looked like a Star Destroyer. And Gamera had to, like, destroy the Star Destroyer, and then I guess he, like, died or something. I watched all of them at one point, and I was, like, enjoying them for the kaiju nostalgia behind it and the cheesy effects, which are, you know, you watch them and you're like, oh, you know, this is fun, but they're not anything to write home about.
I started watching I found one on YouTube. God, if I can remember it. It starts off with, like, this weird ship that has, like, different bubbles on it, and, like, Gamera flies in and, like, detaches one. But anyway,
so
irrelevant, really.
So the first Gamera movie is kind of cool. You get a little bit of history on Gamera, but not, like, a whole lot. The movies we're going to talk about delve more into the real history behind Gamera, and it has a lot better tones to it. Whereas the ending of the first Gamera movie, this is why these movies did not last. Their plan, so in the 54 Godzilla, their plan was to kill Godzilla using a device called the Oxygen Destroyer. That vaporized oxygen molecules in the water. Godzilla, being amphibious, couldn't breathe in the water, and also it would sort of vaporize the molecules in the air, so when he would come to the surface, he still couldn't breathe, so he basically just suffocated, and then it dissolved away the molecules in his body, so he just fizzled away. Very cool way to kill off your giant monster. It's creative, it's new.
Didn't they reuse that?
They did.
Okay.
In the new one. They brought it back because
yeah.
that was the missile that they shot at Godzilla while he was fighting King Ghidorah.
Right.
But in this movie, their plan, after they tried bombing Gamera, shooting him, freezing him, all of this, their plan was to capture him in a giant capsule, which was attached to a rocket to launch him to Mars.
Okay.
That's why those movies are laughable. Is because they had no idea what they were doing. They're just like, we need something to keep up. We need to get our name in this kaiju ring to, like, better ourselves. And that studio didn't make any other giant monster movies, as far as I know.
I'm gonna play the. I mean, I don't know if you're listening to this and not knowing what Gamera is, but or kaiju in general. But where does kaiju come from? Does it mean something?
Kaiju means monster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Okay.
Yeah. Daikaiju means giant monster.
Okay.
So, but I mean, they
I don't
really,
think I ever knew
they just
what it
uses
meant.
they just use the word kaiju to describe the genre.
Well, it just sounds cooler.
Yeah. Oh yeah. but that's how they describe the genre. So anyway, about Gamera. Gamera is a giant turtle who has the ability to fly and breathe fire. Now, it all sounds extremely laughable, which is what everyone thought of it, but the way we're going to talk about these movies is it appears extremely laughable when you first see it, but then when they start to delve into the origins, you're like, okay, that makes a lot more sense now, and it's believable. Like, there's a point in the movie where they talk about it, and you're like, oh, okay, like, now I don't feel like pissing myself laughing every time I see it.
Yeah, so jumping right into the first, well, not the first Gamera, but Gamera Guardian of
These
the
are
universe.
the reboots.
Yeah.
This is the reboot trilogy.
A hibernating species of giant carnivorous birds is awakened on a Japanese island, and shortly after, the military encounters a giant unidentified mass moving beneath the ocean shore, which we come to learn is our enemy, the Gyaos and Gamera in the ocean. And basically, the Gauss are eating people, and they're trying to study them, and Gamera is a protector. So the Gauss are eating people, and Gamera comes to stop them. That's pretty much the whole plot of the movie.
And there's
with,
like a whole big
with human stuff in between.
Well, there's a whole big what do you call it? Like a prophecy, isn't there?
Yes,
Like
there is.
Gamera's the protector. They find that out that he's supposed to be the protector.
the obelisk that collapses on under the rock that's on Gamera states that the Atlanteans built Gamera to stop the Gauss. And funny thing, it's not mentioned in the movie. Well, it may be mentioned in the movie I think it's maybe the third one. The Gauss were also created by the Atlanteans to eat waste. They were supposed to eat because the Atlanteans were this mega civilization that had all sorts of energy and stuff, and they had all this mass waste that was being produced like we are now, and the Gauss were built to feed on it and decrease the waste. Then they started to get bigger and get out of control and started killing off the Atlanteans, so they built Gamera to destroy them. And then, of course, Atlantis sunk. Maybe the Gauss had something to do with it, but they left Gamera behind in case Gauss ever came back, which we find out.
Yes.
I really did. I really enjoyed that the Atlanteans inclusion.
Yeah. No, yeah. Like in the original movies, like you don't get that lore.
Yeah.
You get it in this, and you're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense than this turtle that can just fly for absolutely no reason.
The one thing that I like to say about these movies compared to the newer Godzillas coming out, I mean, maybe King of the Monsters is an exception, but I thought that the human storyline portion of at least the first one was really good.
Yeah.
Like it was that woman and the cop, and they're investigating the Gauss, and then that sea fisherman who is investigating Gamera, and then the government who wants to capture Gamera and study him because they're assholes.
And wants to capture the Gauss to study them too.
Yeah.
And they want to capture the Gauss when it's like 100 meters tall, and they're like, no, we got to capture it. How?
Yeah.
You got a good plan? You got a net? You got a big net that you can put him in?
I liked how they kept getting more massive too.
Yeah.
Like whenever Gamera's fighting the one Gauss on the bridge, I was like, oh, that is huge.
Yeah.
And then it gets even bigger than that. I was like, oh my god.
As Gamera.
I was like shocked. It was huge.
Yeah.
Humongous.
So here's the parallel that I wanted to bring up. Gamera Guardian of the Universe, and I want you to think about this. Think about the plot of Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And think of the plot of Godzilla, Gareth Edwards' Godzilla 2014. Ancient, parasitic species, waking up, causing mayhem, giant protector lizard monster comes back to destroy them. It's the same plot. Like, I think Gareth Edwards watched Gamera Guardian of the Universe and was like, you know what? This is pretty good. I think I'm going to use that.
There's only so much you can do with Godzilla, too.
Well, yeah. But, like, watching Godzilla 2014, because I watched did I watch Gamera before? I don't think I did. I watched Gamera after the 2014 Godzilla came out, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, this is the same plot as the Godzilla 2014.
That's one thing I was going to bring up at some point during this podcast. And some people, kaiju fans, might get mad at me, but, like, there is only so much you can do with these types of characters.
No, yeah. I mean, like
and it's not a dig at it.
No.
But, like...
It's just, there's only so much that you can do with it. But that's the thing.
I realized that after watching this trilogy.
You don't want to tweak it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, anytime you have a giant monster story, you're like, okay, what works? What do we know works?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really want to tweak it too much, or else it's going to become weird and no one's going to like it.
Right.
So, I mean, like, you can only have them do so much, like Godzilla. You can only have him show up and feed on radiation towers and destroy cities, just doing that, and you're just like, okay, yeah, it's believable. And then, like, you have him do something weird and go to space or something, and you're like, okay, now we're getting, all right, yeah, this is weird now.
Which movie was that one?
Space Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
No, Invasion of Astro Monster, or Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, which is the aliens come back to Earth and bring Rodan and Godzilla back to their home planet, which doesn't have oxygen. so they can fight Ghidorah and shoo him off their planet.
Wait, so Godzilla doesn't need oxygen?
Apparently not.
Oh.
Apparently not on Planet X.
There goes the whole plot to the first movie.
It's a good
right?
movie, though. That one's actually a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Because then they send them back to Earth and they're under, like, mind control. So they send Godzilla and Rodan to, like, destroy population centers. And then they have to, like, find the Exilians and kill them and blow up their base so it wears off so Godzilla and Rodan can fight Ghidorah. Because they bring Ghidorah down and now they have all three that are sent to destroy. And they're just like, all right, how do we fix this? And then they have to kill. But anyway, we're getting off topic. We're on Godzilla.
That's all different.
We're supposed to be talking about Gamera.
So one of my favorite I guess you call it plot points or whatever for this movie is the girl that gets the whatever you call
Kusanagi.
it. Yeah, the I call it the scale. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, amulet.
It looks like a yin yang.
Yeah.
Piece. Yeah.
So like that whole thing was pretty cool. Like
which that comes into play later, actually.
Yeah. How she can, like basically feel everything that happens to Gamera.
Yeah, that's actually a cool thing. Is like it's like that mythical chosen person to help take part of that burden. Like I did like that.
And this ties in a little bit with the third one, and we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
But it felt very Power Rangey to me.
It did kind of
like I was like, holy shit, that's like her Zord or something. I mean, she's not specifically telling it what to do, but and to stay with the Power Ranger thing for a minute, like there's so many shots in these movies that are straight out of like the whole Power Ranger.
Oh yeah, the battle in the city, like
there's like close-up shots of like the monster. And clearly that's how all these big monster movies are made, with like the little tiny set and the person, I guess.
And towards the end, it's really like Power Rangey, Showa era Godzilla. Because like you got like Gamera swinging and Gauss ducking, and then Gauss coming up and like swinging. Which Gauss was actually played by a woman, Sudak.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Because they needed someone slender to fit the bird.
Gamera sounded like a woman.
Gamera has a very distinct roar, and I like it. I really like the roar.
Yeah, I didn't mind it.
That's his original roar from. I think it's something like an elephant cry or something. Something. It's an actual animal that they had like recorded, but I can't remember exactly what it was. But they didn't do like Godzilla where they rubbed like a leather glove on a contrabass to get that low growl from the first movies.
Yeah.
I'll say this, the effects in this one are not on par with 2 and 3.
When
I thought they were okay, but
they were fine when I first started watching, but then as the movies
they get better as it goes.
Yeah.
Especially
but like starting with this one and not knowing anything about the second two, like I was like, all right.
Yeah, it's a fun
when Gauss is like eating the thing and it's like
and it has the googly eyes that are like looking everywhere.
And I thought that was hilarious.
It's like falling down its mouth.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah.
I did like the Gauss puppets towards the beginning of the movie. Like where they're trying to capture them in the baseball stadium.
Yeah, where they should have killed the one by shooting it 100 times.
Oh yeah, when they had the strobe lights and then they fired like 115 darts at it. It should have died.
Yeah.
It was like foaming out of the mouth, laying there. And then later on, it just
get
gets
back up.
Yeah. Just once Gamera showed up, it just like gets right back up. And I'm like, how?
Is that the one that Gamera just boom?
Yeah, he just like slaps it.
And it's always near a refinery. It's always near a refinery because as soon as like they show up, something has to explode. So like Gamera shows up and he just boom and just spikes him right in the refinery.
Not in my house.
Just blows him up. But I like that reveal because like you get the helicopter shot and then they like.
Was that the first time we saw Gamera?
Yes.
Okay.
Which another plot point. The Mutos are at the airport in 2014, and we have this big reveal where Godzilla shows up to fight one of them, and that was like the same thing with the Gamera. It's night, and he comes out of the water, and we get the big reveal and the roar and everything.
Which sounds very Dragon Zordy. I'm just gonna compare this to
Power
Rangers.
Definitely. that whole first movie, the way it was shot, it's good. but the way that it was shot was very much like Power Rangers type of thing.
And I hope people, don't get mad at me for saying stuff like that, but like that's why I actually like these movies, because I was a Power Ranger fan as a kid. So like it was just that type of, how they created it. And that's when I saw Godzilla and I'm like, oh, this is kind of like, I just said it was kind of like Power Rangers, with the Zords and stuff. So, but yeah, I wanted to bring up or get you guys' thoughts on the design of Gauss, or the Gauss, or whatever the plural version of that.
I think it would be just Gauss.
They're just Gauss.
But, because I'll start with mine, like, I thought they were actually really cool.
They are.
When I first saw them, I'm like, wow, this is like pretty cool.
And Gauss is in the old movies too.
Oh, okay.
He was definitely a rival of Rodan. Like, they were trying to cash in on big flying pteranodon type of monster.
Yeah.
But the thing I like most is the head plate.
Yeah.
Where it's flat. And like it makes it look like it would like ram something like flying, which we never saw that. But I figure it's very aerodynamic too when you think about it.
You literally took the words out of my mouth, because that's what I was gonna say.
But the way that they redesigned them, because back
in the
60s he had like very like stiff wings and just had like a triangle like mouth that just opened and closed, but he had overall the same design. But I think that when they rebooted it, their redesign was much better.
Mm-hmm.
It had a much more imposing.
I thought it was very original.
Look.
I think is what I wanted to point out.
It didn't look as goofy as it did in the old movies, but I like it. I like the shots of it nesting on Tokyo Tower.
Yeah,
where it was like collapsed and it had its nest up at the top there. I thought that was really cool because there's that one shot in the evening where it's backlit. And all you see is the silhouette of Gauss perched atop of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. Like that's an iconic shot in.
And I don't know if I missed it while watching it, but later on, when it gets unnested, I can't remember if Gamera like scares it away or whatever.
I think they shoot.
Yeah,
they shoot
missiles at it. Yeah.
And then the eggs fell.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that it was even doing that.
Yeah.
That
was a cool reveal. And actually, when Shawn and I watched it, I'd forgotten that part was in there, that it was nesting, and that they had killed the babies
by shooting it. That was the final Gauss, because the first one died at the stadium, which I thought that was cool, where they tried to trap it in the stadium. I thought that was a great idea. And then the second one was on that bridge whenever we first see Gamera's fire powers, and then
when he shoots
he
the
just
fireball,
blows
it off.
The beam hurt his hand, and then we see in the next scene the girl has a bandage over her hand, or a bruising on her hand, and that's your first inkling. It's like, oh, maybe they're connected or something. Yeah. And then the final one, obviously, was the one that just kept getting even larger and larger, and
comically large.
Yeah, he was huge. I have a couple of things here, that some of the zooms and there was like wipe transitions.
Oh,
it was like straight out of Star Wars.
Yeah.
But the movie starts very fast. It's like it hammers a bunch of stuff at once. I thought like, it kept me engaged like that.
Yeah, I thought the first one,
Gamera, Gauss, Gamera, Gauss, Gamera, Gauss.
Yeah,
the first
one
had great pacing,
separated between the scientists.
Yeah, because you had the build up until they met.
Yeah, I thought that was
everything
great.
came together.
I really enjoyed that. And I have one thing here. Whenever Gauss comes and eats the dog.
Oh man!
And it had like
predator vision.
And then the wind like blows and like knocks everything over. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
And then the lady comes out and you see like the superimposed in like it's like wings are going like this, and it turns around and flies towards her.
So what the vision part, like where it shows you how they see, like they didn't even really touch upon that later, other than saying that they like evolved already and had like lenses or something, so they could be in the daylight. Because
when she said it was growing shields over its eyes.
That was the only thing that they touched on it about.
And I think that's like it adds to that. Like when she says that that it has almost a natural evolution to where it can adapt. And like it can adapt to whatever enemy that it sees as a threat.
Mhm.
And I think maybe that's why it grew to such size, is because Gamera was so big that it needed to adapt to try to overcome him. So, I mean, the Gauss are a very interesting organism. They're kind of like a xenomorph.
Mm-hmm.
They have very good defense mechanisms and can evolve to do just about anything.
Yeah.
Which is why they come back and what makes them such a threat.
So later on, near the climax of the movie, whenever it's while Gamera is hurt after his third encounter with Gauss, and he's sleeping and needing to heal.
And the girl is sleeping too.
Yeah. That part was like the weakest part of the movie for me, but it was whatever. But I wanted to say that when she wakes up, she goes and gets a taxi driver to take her to like a war zone. And that taxi driver is the most insane person to ever live.
Because he blasts right through that barricade.
He's like, screw this shit, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, I always wanted to blow through a police barricade.
Yeah, she didn't even like have to...
she didn't have to twist his arm. She's like, I need to get to Fuji. And he's like, we can't go to Fuji. And she's like, no, I need to get there. And he's like, oh, okay. Like, all it took was 2 times.
Which is fine, right. But then they get to that barricade and he's just all of a sudden like, yeah, screw it.
Yeah.
Woo. Yeah, that was bizarre.
I didn't understand. It was one of those things where it's like, well, we gotta get her to here.
Yeah, she had to be at Fuji.
I was just like amazed. And then everybody else, that's the final fight, right, at Fuji? Because all the scientists and her father get there too.
That's not the final fight. That's before Gauss goes to the nest.
That's right, yeah. So that's before she has to rest and everything. Yeah, because she
Yeah.
starts bleeding and the guy's just like...
Yeah, because then the next scene after Gamera leaves, he like plummets into the ocean.
Right. And then they go in the helicopter, that's right, to get to him. I remember now. Yeah, I thought that
a lot of the flying scenes were kind of goofy looking. and I'm glad that they fixed it in 2 and 3, because him with arms, like, just flying, like, towards Gauss, I was like, that's not aerodynamic.
They fixed it, like, where he's, like, has him up, right?
Yeah, like Superman, and it just kind of looks goofy.
That one that I said that I started, that's how he flies. He's like...
Yeah.
But whenever he first started flying, I was just like, what the fuck? Because I was expecting him to be like Godzilla.
I didn't know what the hell was going on. I'm like, does dude have, like, rockets?
Well, no, when we watched it, and, like, he's standing at the baseball stadium, and he starts, like, the roaring, and then you see, like, the smoke, and then he takes off, and Shawn's like, what the fuck? And then he starts spinning, and he goes, what the fuck? And I was like, just wait. I'm like, they explain it, don't worry.
Is it this one? No, it's the third one where they fly into space, right?
No, it's this one.
Oh, is it? Yeah. Okay.
He follows Gauss, like, straight up, and then they plummet.
Yeah,
like,
that's
down.
right.
Yeah,
I couldn't remember if it was this one or the third one, but I really enjoyed that, where he's just, like, flying him off the planet.
Yeah. And Gauss just goes into the stratosphere, and then he, like, grabs Gauss, and then they both, like, plummet down towards the Earth. And then Gauss shoots him to break away with the beam. And then because that's when he shoots Gamera to break away from him, and then he flies off, and that's when Gamera hits and just blows up in the refinery.
Oh,
and you think he's dead because he just fell from the stratosphere. But as we've seen in Godzilla King of the Monsters, he doesn't die from falling from the stratosphere. But yeah, so then we get to the climax of the movie where they think Gamera's dead because he just exploded in this refinery.
Yeah.
And then the fire, like, seems to, like, start to close in and, like, shrink down.
The girl, like...
Yeah, because her amulet's, like, glowing. And then whenever, like, they call it mana, which comes into play in the second movie.
Uh-huh.
But, we don't know about that in this, but you just assume it's some balance of power between her and Gamera. But then it, like, closes in and reforms Gamera and it gives him his ultimate attack at the end, where Gauss and him have an Old West standoff, and Gauss shoots his beam, but it has absolutely no effect because Gamera shoots this giant-ass fireball towards him that dissipates the beam and blows Gauss's head off his shoulders.
So first off, the fireball is pretty awesome.
I
like the fireball, but when he does that and literally blows his head off, I love that the body just slowly falls.
Yeah.
And then just boom, explodes.
Yeah, it's just like standing there as it goes.
That's such a.
I love the anime
trademark.
beam that goes into the sky.
Oh, yeah.
Too, where it's like it's that like flickering beam. I
Yeah.
was like, that's cool. Like I just like that aesthetic.
But the falling body and stuff, that's such a trademark of like these types of movies.
Oh yeah, like in Godzilla 2000. I know we keep talking about it, but we're gonna be comparing.
Well, that's
to
what
it.
this is all based on.
Yeah, but like Godzilla blows up this monster in Godzilla 2000 called Orga. And what he does is he tries to consume Godzilla to clone itself to become him, because it's like it's an adaptive organism, kind of like Gauss.
Yeah.
But he starts like growing fins while he's trying to like consume Godzilla, and then his fins start to glow, and then there's a really good shot where like the head of the monster, like it opens up huge to like consume him.
Oh wow.
And it's like almost consumed him entirely, and it starts to like fire up his fins. And there's one shot where you see the head of the monster, and then you see its eyes open like real wide before he just explodes from the inside.
Oh, wow.
And then there's the shot afterward where Godzilla's standing there, and it slowly pans up, and it's just the torso with absolutely no head, and then it just falls over real slow, like in the city. But there are those tropes to these movies.
Yeah, that's
it's
one thing I love.
That's the charm to them.
Yeah.
Is that they have those expected things. You're like, okay, this has to happen now. Which is something that I love about them.
Yeah.
Like, I just love watching these movies because of you expect it, and then when it happens, it's even better.
Sometimes I almost want shorter versions of these movies, because I could give two shits what the humans are doing. Except for this one. This one's actually
this trilogy is an exception.
But that's actually what a problem I have with a lot of the Godzillas. Like, I just don't care.
Especially the older ones.
Yeah.
Like, aside from the first one, you really don't care too much about the human drama. Now, in the 90s ones, which are around the time that these ones happened, like the late 80s, early 90s, they're pretty good. They have decent storylines, good human storylines. But some of them are pretty outlandish.
Yeah.
Like, you watch them and you're like, okay, like, I could not.
If I don't have the English dub, I just can't watch them.
Yeah.
And then the movie ends with Jurassic Park plagiarism.
Yes! Yes, let's bring that up. Because, and it's hilarious that we were watching
what was this, 95?
Yes. So 2 years after Jurassic Park, we're watching this, and I'm listening to the music, and I'm like, and did you say Jurassic Park? You're like, wow, that sounds exactly like Jurassic Park. And then I remembered that somebody on YouTube, when I listened to this, because the first minute I heard this, the first time I watched it, I was like, wow, that sounds like Jurassic Park. So I went and looked it up on YouTube, and like 90 of the comments were like, this is Jurassic Park's theme with just a few notes rearranged. And it is. Like, it's note for note, almost exactly Jurassic Park.
I didn't notice that, because I couldn't read the credits, so I just shut it off. So I didn't...
And then we get the giant red "the end" zooming to the screen like Star Wars, and then we get Gamera's roar over the end, and then there's usually some pop song that plays after, because that's what they do with the movies.
Was it the song that was like, it wasn't the credit song?
No, it was the credit song.
Oh, okay.
The Jurassic Park one was.
That's what I'm talking about.
Before the end.
Oh, I just didn't catch it then.
Yeah, it's pretty apparent.
I'll play it for you after we record.
Yeah.
And you can listen to it. It's exactly.
I must not have caught it.
So we move on to Gamera 2.
Well, hold on.
Oh, okay.
Gotta give our ratings.
Oh,
first.
right.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So I introduced it. I'll go first. I really like this one. I thought that Gauss was a good introduction villain, and we get to learn about Gamera and them being built by the Atlanteans, which was unique when compared to all the other kaiju movies. Some of the effects were bad. I didn't bring it up, but there was this one part where it shows like a bunch of dead animals and they look fake as hell.
Oh, the ones that they were using as bait.
Yeah.
That looked like they were just vacuum formed.
Yeah.
Gelatin that just were painted poorly.
It looked like literally just like rubber.
Yeah. And they probably were.
They probably
honestly were just molded rubber that they just quickly painted. They're like, get it on the field.
But we need these props today.
I really liked the human storyline in this one. I think that Well, I'll get to it when we get further on, but I really enjoyed the human element here. I thought it was really good, and the battles between Gamera and Gauss are good. So the music
was
the
good.
music
too,
was good
aside
too.
from
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park. I mean, Gamera's theme's really cool. I like that a lot. There were a lot of good musical cues to this movie. I mean, Godzilla has a very recognizable theme, but this, because Gamera never had a recognizable theme, so this movie kind of like gave that back to him. Like, all right, he has a recognizable motif now that we can use.
I think I'm gonna go 6 out of 10. I was debating between 7 and 6, and I'm gonna land on 6.
Not a 6.5.
No, well, yeah, I'll just go 6. Keep it simple.
I'll go second since these are your recommendations.
True.
So yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with. We're all pretty much in agreement with this movie. So I guess I don't really have to say anything, but I would give it. I'm gonna go with Shawn's other half and go with 7 out of 10. I really like this one.
I'll go with a 6.5. This was not my first Gamera movie that I ever watched. That I watched this one after the fact, so I enjoyed it. It had a very good storyline. Like there was a time when I bought the Blu-ray from Kmart. That tells you how long ago it was. It was from Kmart. For like $9, I bought it, and I sat down one night and watched the whole trilogy, and I was like, "Damn!"
This trilogy?
Yeah. And I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "These are good." Like I was probably like 21.
Did you buy the whole trilogy for that?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So like when I bought it, I took it home and watched it, and I was like,
that shit's like $60.
Yeah. So I was like 20 or 21 when I bought it, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, damn, these are good movies. Like and we'll get into the second one because that was actually my introduction to Gamera. Yeah, overall I give it a 6.5. It's a decent kaiju movie. It has good storyline. It's one of those that will entertain you through and through. If you're a fan of the genre, you're gonna like it.
Yeah.
So we move on to Gamera Attack of Legion, which is the sequel to Gamera Guardian of the Universe. And this was actually my introduction to Gamera. So when I was like 10 or something, I asked my mom and dad for Christmas to get me like a Gamera figure and a Gamera movie because I was interested in the character and I wanted to watch stuff with him on it. So they got me the Gamera because my mom and dad didn't know any better. Gamera 2, which it's not on the box, it's not Gamera 2, it's just Gamera Attack of Legion.
Yeah.
So they got me that to start with, and then I got the 1995 Gamera. It was like a little Build-A-Figure. Like it came in a box. Like it was a candy toy, essentially, from Japan, that you just put like the arms and the legs and tail on, and it was just a little toy that you had. So this movie is the one that got me started on Gamera, and then I came to find later that it was part of a trilogy, and then got the trilogy. But
what a great surprise!
Yeah. So I'll talk about this movie. It does not hesitate to get right into the action. It starts off with a couple of scientists who are tracking a meteorite during a meteor shower that is quite large, and it's not going to burn up in the atmosphere. So they start making calls to tell people that it's coming, but they also don't want to cause a panic. So a group of kids from like college or a high school, I think it's college because isn't Kusanagi in the class that they're doing?
I thought she was like a teacher because I thought they were all pretty young. I thought she was like a mentor. Maybe not a teacher, but a mentor.
Maybe she was a mentor. But
I thought they were all pretty young kids.
Yeah, they were children.
Yeah. So they're watching the meteor shower and all this, and the meteor like passes right over top of them off into the tree line, but there's like no explosion or anything, and they're just like, what is going on here? So later the government goes to investigate it, and the meteor's gone. There's a big trail, but the meteor is nowhere to be found. So there are a lot of electrical disturbances that happen that are unexplained, and they can't figure out what's going on with it. And then we come to find out that there is some type of creature that's causing all these electrical disturbances, but it's not a big creature, they're smaller creatures. And they're given the titular name Leagion by one of the army guys who talks about the biblical prophecy of the one who is many, Legion. And there are a bunch of these little like crab-like creatures that they have cool vision too, like the cows. And they're able to like disintegrate glass and all
they,
this. Like it's crazy. Like they have some really cool powers.
Very interesting power.
And so they start like what the one incident happened at a bottling plant where the guys first saw the creature and they didn't get eaten.
Yeah, it's a beer distributor.
Yeah, but they didn't get killed or anything because they interviewed them the next day and they're talking about it and they're like, "You're insane, guys! Like, there's no creature here."
He's the character from the first film,
the cop. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. He is, and he's a recurring character actually, which is kind of fun because
I forgot to mention
these movies are
how
very
much I
consistent.
hated that guy in the first movie.
These movies are very consistent. Like that's something that we'll talk about as we get into more into 2 and 3. But they're very consistent with the characters. Not like Godzilla movies where you have a character and then they're never heard of again in the second movie. So then there's a second incident in the subway where a train gets stopped and almost all like no, it was half of the passengers I think got killed by the creatures. And that's when we first see our creatures, because in the beer distributor, you only saw you saw the shadow and you saw the claws as it like disintegrated the glass. And then in the subway, we finally see them. And then we get another shot like the first one where the bloody glasses are like thrown to the floor, dripping blood. And we have that nice horror close-up.
That was like a horror scene.
Also, scene. Because I can remember like watching that movie when I was 10 and the curtain opens and the dude's hand goes up and all the blood like hits it. I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was terrified of that when I was younger.
That was like legit a horror.
There's a moment like that in the third one.
Oh, yeah.
Which still, like, I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm scared, but like, there's a jump scare.
Yeah, like, you're like, wow. Like, that's, and this movie.
And I was waiting for that during this opening of this movie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, all right, he's gonna jump out at me at some point.
Yeah,
because that's the feel of the, the reveal or whatever.
Before we get too far into it, I want to clarify. I watched the first one in English and then the second and third one in Japanese with subtitles.
Oh, you're missing out because there's a whole dub for the second one where they all talk like rednecks.
What?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I have it's from ADV Films. I have the DVD. I'll have to let you guys borrow it to watch. It's like cut down to like 45 minutes. They cut the movie down and redub it where they're all like rednecks. Oh, it's hilarious. It is hilarious. Like there's one scene, and I always think of it, where they're like it's towards the end battle, and they're talking about Gamera and like what they're gonna do. And the one general comes in, he's like, "Can we hurry this up? I got my own turtle head poking." like it's hilarious. And like it all matches up perfectly. But
that sounds like gold.
Oh, it is. Like they're re-releasing all the Gamera movies soon from Arrow Films, and somebody was talking. It was a Twitter page I follow, and they're like, "God, I hope they have the Texarkana dub on this DVD." So anyway, the subway is where we really start to get into things because they go down into the subway like a couple days. They send the whole military in to see if there's any survivors. So they find the bugs, and they find survivors, and they bring them out. But then there's something about the survivors, like why they weren't eaten, and it was because
they didn't have any silicon products on them.
Yeah, the people who had like cell phones and radios, that's what they wanted. That's what the bugs wanted to eat. So with the back into the subway, they find a root system. That where is it? It's not Sapporo. Sapporo is the second one, right? What city are they in the first one?
They go to Sendai in the second movie. That's
No. Sendai is the second. I don't want to spoil it just yet.
Yeah.
But Sapporo is where the subway thing happened.
Yeah.
So Sapporo, during the daytime, like after they get the survivors out, then something happens where a giant spore opens up like through a building, and a whole root system is through like the subway and everything. So this spore starts to like flower and open up, and it's giving off like these electromagnetic rays that are like shutting off all electronics and everything like an EMP. And they come to find out, I don't know if they come to find it out now or if it's later on, that this is how the Legion goes from world to world, is they shoot a spore out of this flower to other worlds, and that's how they populate and take over other worlds. So this spore is about to launch and detonate, and it's going to destroy Sapporo once it explodes. And so that's when Gamera shows up at the very last minute, because they try to blow up the root system that the spore is attached to, and it doesn't work. So Gamera shows up to destroy it fully, and then we find out that Gamera now has wings, which is a really cool design choice. I thought that was really cool. And he shows up and then gets attacked by the Legion, which it's a shit ton of the smaller ones that attach to Gamera and start like biting him and trying to, because he is part technology, I'm sure they're trying to like get whatever silicone is in him. And he ends up taking off and spinning them all off of himself. And then
and then there was, during that scene, whenever he's spinning, there's like his blood like hits the screen, and it was like, oh no.
And then
that's like the worst effect ever.
And then it hits the window, like the two scientists are in. And then as they're like examining the dead ones in the city, that's when the two army guys, the one talks about the Legion, and that's how they give it the name. But then as they're like still searching like around the wreckage, a bigger Legion, which can fly, like comes up out of the ground and takes off, and then they send fighter jets after it to blow it up, and then they shoot it down, but they can never retrieve, they can't find the body, so they never retrieve it. It just like falls into the ocean. They found the wings though, I think they did. So then Gamera's not seen for a little while, and then they find out that there's a second spore that appears in Sendai, which I forget how that happened. There were other legions that like...
Well, they just, after that, they just went on to Sendai. Yeah. They're like attached to the pachinko
That's right, the pachinko sign. And then, but they died. Like, that was weird. Like, they found out that those ones had died after they, like, ate whatever they had eaten. And then they find out that there's a second spore, and so they start evacuating everybody, because they're like, well, we don't know if Gamera's going to show up to stop this one, and we're not going to be able to blow it up before it launches. So they try to evacuate everybody, but during the evacuations, the Big Mama Legion shows up and comes up from underground, like at the airport, and this thing is massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, it's like double Gamera's size, and it has... Like the best way I can describe it is it has Knife Head's head from Pacific Rim, giant spider claws, and then it has big giant like crab leg things, which overall design is really cool, unique, but it has a lot of awesome powers too. Like and so Gamera shows up to fight the Legion, the big one, and he is outgunned and outmatched by the Legion. So Legion unleashes one of its cooler powers, where its head opens and it has like electricity that it fires a beam right towards Gamera, and it blows like half his shell off. I was like, wow. I was like, that's way more violent than the first one. And then as Gamera is like trying to recover, the Legion digs back down underground, and Gamera goes to stop the spore from launching and can't stop it in time. Well, he stops it, but it explodes and kills him. So Gamera is feared dead because Sapporo vaporized like in a nuclear explosion, and Gamera is there, like his body's still there, but they are assuming that he died from the blast because he's not moving. He's
basically Medusa.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So they presume him dead, and they're like, okay, how are we going to stop this Legion if it reappears? So they start this whole big thing. They start a whole tank line, and it finally reappears. And they start trying to fight it, and it has shields, essentially. Like, it blocks, like, tank rounds and stuff like that. Every time it hits, you hear... It's a cool sound effect. Every time they hit it with a shell, it sounds like somebody, like, hitting a hammer off metal. Like, it's ting, ting. Like, it doesn't even affect it. And, well, because it's alien, like, you can't really fight something that's not from our world.
Right.
With tank rounds. I mean, haven't they ever watched a Godzilla movie before? So, Gamera, there's, like, people who go to, like, the Sendai site to see Gamera, and Kusanagi is one of the ones who goes, and she uses, like, the amulet to, like, revive Gamera. It's somehow, some way, I don't know. I don't remember exactly how they did
her
it.
fighting spirit.
But yeah, she just essentially like...
Yeah, people are just kind of like holding a vigil for him.
Yeah, and
then
she ends up bringing him back at a cost because her amulet explodes in her hand, and that's like severed. The connection is like now severed between her and Gamera. But Gamera is alive and can go fight the Legion.
So Gamera gets attacked by the big Legion at the airfield, and he gets like his shell blown off. Why wasn't she hurt?
Because I think the effect to blow her shoulder out would have been a little bit more than they could afford to do.
I was like, that doesn't make any sense. She should be...
Well, it's like
paralyzed.
In the first movie.
She also should be dead from the Sendai explosion.
Yeah.
She should have just collapsed.
Well, it's like in the first movie when he falls to Earth, like...
She should have been dead.
Surely that hurt.
I think there were just some things where the writers were like, we can't do that. Like, that's just too much. So she revives Gamera at the cost of her connection, and Gamera goes off to fight the Legion, and then we find out that there's a swarm of flying ones too that the Legion unleashes, and so the military guy and the scientist go to one of the power plants because they shut off all the power plants because they don't want it coming near anything that would cause any harm or anything.
One of the best parts of... I thought this was hilarious. One of the best parts is that scientist guy calling the power grid guy.
Yeah.
And like...
The power grid
guy's like, don't you have something better to do, kid?
Yeah. Yeah, because like he calls it, he's like, you don't understand. He's like, you need to turn on the power. And he's like, dude, fuck you. Like,
I'm not doing that. This was like really funny too. Like there was some really hilarious moments.
I don't know why. I found that one to be really funny.
They're escaping me now, but I have in my notes here that it was really funny.
So Gamera fights the Legion a little. Well, so they turn on the power because with the swarm gone, Legion doesn't have like as much power, like because it had like
when they turn it on.
Chest.
I forget where they were going, but
they completely turned.
They turned and
towards
went
the power plant.
Yeah, I forget what they were doing
because once they attracted them to the power plant, their plan was to shoot missiles to kill them all, which they are successful in, and that's when Legion gets pissed off. So he's fighting Gamera, and Gamera is winning. He's finally like breaks off a couple of the spider legs, and then what we assume is the crushing blow is he grabs the head and snaps the two prongs off that cause the beam because he doesn't want to get hit by that shit again. So we think, because Legion collapses and we're like, oh, Legion's dead. Only to have the most badass comeback where Legion's eyes turn blood red and it gets back up and starts attacking Gamera with like laser tentacles that pierce through him and like cut through him.
That shit was crazy.
Yeah.
By the way.
Yeah, like that battle is like one of the coolest battles, and he starts.
At first, I didn't know what was going on until like Legion retracted them.
Yeah,
like it's like coming out of him. Like I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Because he starts like just like slashing them through him, but then he like retracts them and then shoots them like in a beam right through him, like in 6
Yeah,
different
I didn't think they were
areas.
like a physical thing. I thought it was just some kind of like
Manifestation, yeah.
like metaphor, so like we knew what was going on.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they were a physical thing until they went through and then come back out.
Oh yeah, like that just stands out in my mind because I can see the shot
Oh
of like the zoom in as its head is down on the ground as you go, and the eyes light up. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit! So Gamera is nearly beaten once again, and then somehow, because it wasn't Kusanagi, he gets the mana power, and the torso of his shell opens up to shoot this mega blast out
right.
Yeah.
to obliterate the Legion, like just vaporizes it.
Yeah.
And then, so they kill the Swarm, they kill Legion, all is right with the world, and Gamera takes off to the sky once again at the end. So,
Yeah,
let's talk about how we felt about this movie.
I thought that Legion, like the big Legion and even the little Legions, they have the best design out of all of the monsters.
They do.
In all three of the movies. I thought that they were great.
I've always been a fan of the Legion.
But
the Legion's always been
they were
cool.
very interesting.
Very Starship Trooper, because it was before Starship Troopers, actually. But
the human stuff didn't work as well for me this time.
No.
yeah,
I did like the characters. It was the three leads, really. The scientist, the military guy, and the woman. I thought that they were great, but I thought that the characters in the first one were better. And then it's just like so convenient that she runs into Kusanagi. It's like, oh, okay, she's like on a field trip, right?
she's going skiing.
Yeah, she's going skiing.
And then they get rerouted because of the...
yeah, and she just like runs into her, and he's like, oh, you're the Gamera person,
you're
right?
You're the gamer girl.
Yeah, because she's looking her up earlier in the movie, and then it's like, oh, hey, that's you. And then they're just like chilling the rest of the movie. I thought that was like so convenient.
It was.
It was like, yeah. And at the very beginning, there was like a weird freeze frame montage. Like it was like dialogue-y and exposition, and it was like freeze framing and like.
No, that was when they were getting everybody out of the subway.
Yeah.
It was like a montage,
it was
but
like,
it was so out of place because it was just like pictures of them like helping people out.
Yeah,
And it was audio of like the people getting saved.
Yeah,
like
it was
thanking
so
them
stupid.
for getting them out.
I think I thought that the movie like screwed up or
Yeah.
something. I think.
No, that's actually how it's shot.
I thought that some of the CGI with Legion attacking, like the little Legion attacking Gamera, was kind of bad the first time, but
It was 1996.
I got over
We
it.
can't really be too hurt by it. I think Gamera's design was cool. Like Gamera, like Godzilla, evolves in design with each movie because they want to sell toys and they don't want to sell the same exact one over again.
Well, that's one thing I was going to ask you. Like, it's supposed to be the same
Yeah,
Gamera.
yeah. But he just like evolves, just like Godzilla in continuity changes his appearance with each movie because, well, not back in the day, but now they change his appearance because they want to sell toys. And you don't want the same exact one you got 4 years ago.
Well, the reason I was asking is because of what happens in the third movie, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
But like, that's why I wondered if it was the same one or not.
Yeah, it's all the same. It's all the same Gamera through this trilogy. He just changes his appearance. I like the appearance of this Gamera.
Mm-hmm.
Not, it's not my favorite of them.
I didn't notice too much between the three.
yeah, it's hard for me to differentiate any.
Really?
I mean, I
Third
couldn't
one
tell.
looks like night and day compared to the first two.
I guess.
I don't know. I guess I'm not that observant.
But yeah, it's the same Gamera. His design, one thing that I liked that they changed was that he has the wings in this. Like, he doesn't have the Superman arms outstretched. I thought that was a cooler thing that they did where his
I thought it
arms
was just
can,
his
like,
arm. Oh yeah, that was one thing.
turn into
Yeah,
the
the
wings.
hand morphing is so fucking
Yeah,
bad looking.
yeah.
That's it, because he goes to take off and his arm turns into the wing. Oh my god, it looks so bad.
and I think that that's why, and we'll get more into it. But in the third movie, when he lands, you don't see his arm change.
Yeah.
Which they were just like, nah. They're like, just have a lot of smoke and then just have him come out of it like completely reformed because we don't need another one of those goddamn morphing things.
Too expensive.
Yeah.
The scene at the power plant where like they're like, okay, and all the Legion are coming, and then the scientists and the power plant worker are like leaving, and now one shows up and
then
starts
the dude
attacking.
Terminator
Yeah, he just
executes it.
Boom, boom. That was
Shoots
awesome.
it in the eyes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there was something about them being
Or
well.
I
They
guess.
they move with like hydraulics with air pumping,
Yeah.
and then like
Oh,
all
right.
the air is exposed out of the one.
They
after
found
it
that
shoots
out
it.
pretty early. didn't
Yeah,
they?
because they started.
Wasn't that why
autopsied
there
the
was an
one.
explosion underneath in the subway? Was because there was so much oxygen down there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how Gamera just kind of pushed over the pods each
Yeah.
time. Like he did that. He pushed over the one that blew up, and then the other one he just shows up and knocks it over. He just walks up and pushes it over.
And then it's dead. It's
Yeah.
just dead in the water.
Oh, I thought
But
that
that second one when he pushed it over, he like knocked it towards him, and he's like, "Oh, bad idea."
Yeah, I don't really have anything else much to say about this.
Mike,
one,
do you
but
have anything else to?
No, I-
add?
the fights were good though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That third act. That's one of my favorites.
I thought that it was amazing.
Yeah,
that whole battle scene, like I was like, damn, like that just stands out in my mind.
I feel like that's the best part of this.
I
movie.
forgot to mention about the first one, but there was like a nice like pro anti-pollution
Yeah.
message there, and they have this one at the end too, where they're like, oh well, Gamera's here to basically keep balance or whatever. You know, he's a savior of the earth.
Like
and-
Godzilla.
Yeah, and then somebody was like, oh well, what happens if we keep going on this path and polluting the planet or whatever? And the lead woman is like, well, you don't want Gamera as your enemy, do you? And then they kind of just switched that up in the third one, but
Well, it plays in though.
yeah.
Because Gamera does kind of become the antagonist.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything else to say.
What's our rating on this one?
I was debating whether or not I wanted to because the first one and the second one are like pretty even keel for me. I wasn't sure which one I like more. I like Legion, the design of Legion better than the design of the Gals, but I like the human stuff better in the first one than in the second one. So I'm debating between a 7 and a 6 for this one. I'll probably just go 6. Because before I was like, I think I like this one better, but revisiting and talking about the first one, I think I like it better.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 out of 10.
I'm gonna second the 6 out of 10. I didn't like this one as much. I mean, that fight is great, but
I think the effects were overall better
yeah,
in this one than the first
But-
one.
I don't know. I just found the human stuff was there.
I'd probably still stick with a 6.5 for this one. It's entertaining. I may even like up it by 1 point, like give it like a 6.6 because the fights are ultimately better in this one, and I think that, like I said, it stands out to me more. The fights and everything are just in my mind. Like I can just see them as clear as day because of how well it was executed, and all like the miniature work in these movies are fantastic
they
too.
look great.
And the way that it's shot, there's one shot in it where the military's driving through Sendai, and there's an awesome composite shot where you're in the car, and the guy's like looking out the window, but then you're in the car, and Gamera is like moving like next to them, and it's just an amazing shot because you feel the scale.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're like, holy shit! Like he is enormous.
Yeah.
Like there were, and I think they got a different effects guy for this movie and the third one because you could notice a blatant difference between number 1, number 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd probably just give it like a 6.6 just for the fact that the effects and everything and the cinematography was better in this one. But I agree with you guys, the human aspect is not as good as it was in the first one.
All right.
Mike?
In a small Japanese village, a young woman discovers the means for her revenge while Gauss birds are sighted around the world and humankind debates Gamera's allegiance. That's a really short one.
Yeah.
It is very short.
This one's like 4 paragraphs, so
But that is a very nice touch to begin the movie.
Yeah, I really like the beginning where it's like, oh, Gamera's like rampaging. Well, I don't remember if it begins with the flashback.
It's almost like Civil War.
Yeah.
Because that is the first part of the movie is the flashback.
Yeah.
Because we meet, what's the girl's name? I can't remember.
Ayana?
Ayana, yeah. So
there's like a couple things they
we find out that she was there. This movie is like Captain America Civil War. We see the other side of things where the hero is not the hero to everyone. Which is awesome. Like, that's something that I love about this movie, is where it takes that darker turn, and we find out that Ayana's parents were killed when Gamera fought Gauss.
Yeah, because her dad is a fucking moron.
Oh, yeah, he's a fucking moron. Like, no, they deserve to die.
Like,
for that.
Well, her mom puts her in the car, and her dad is just fucking taking pictures of Gamera outside the building.
Yeah.
And her mom is like
Was
looking
he, like,
for
in
the cat.
living room?
Yeah. He's in the living room taking pictures out a bay window at Gamera. And her mom is trying to get the cat, which is named Iris, which is Revenge of Iris. Or
that's our titular villain.
Yeah. But basically,
like, oh, good, we're gonna get a giant cat.
it's
kind of.
It's her wanting revenge on.
But the cool thing is the nightmare version of Gamera, because that's her nightmare that she has is the flashback. But the nightmare version that we get of Gamera is like it's the 95 version, but it has like all these like mangled tusks and everything, and it's how she sees Gamera. And like I said, that's a cool thing that we get, where we see someone else's viewpoint, where Gamera is not the hero, he's not the Guardian, he's like Godzilla, he's a menace.
It's almost like Batman's vision for Superman.
Yeah, kind of. Like I said, this is like Civil War. This is like Civil War, Batman versus Superman type of, and it's just like the tone where they flip it. Like, you have Gamera who's saved the Earth twice in these movies, and then you just change it, just turn it slightly, and you're like, oh, there's a lot of casualties that happen every time he saves the day.
Yeah.
Which is very prevalent in the Shibuya district when he shows up to fight off a couple of the Gauss that show up. And he shows up, and we get some awesome shots of, like, the effects in this one outweigh the other two. The effects in this one are way better. And we see Gamera... I mean,
there's more time in between 2 and 3, so... Yeah.
So we get the shots of Gamera showing up to the city, but he's chasing Gauss, and he, like, fires a fireball at I can't remember what the building's called, but I can see it in my mind. It's like a cylindrical, it has neon lights all over the front of it. He shoots it at the Gauss, and the Gauss, like, banks, and it hits it and blows up, and like everybody gets like rained down like chunks of building and everything on them, and then Gamera lands because he knocked one of the Gauss out, and he lands and like goes over towards it and shoots the fireball, and then you see people like flying like off the street once the explosion hits. But you start to get that like dark version of Gamera where it's like, damn, he causes a hell of a lot more destruction and death than he does protecting people, which is that's just cool to me. And he looks a lot more evil,
because these movies that do this, the Godzillas, Power Rangers, anything with giant beings, or robots or whatever it may be, like, that's the stuff you don't see or think about, because they're always blowing up buildings and shit, like.
And everyone's always cheering at the end.
Yeah,
he saved the day.
Yeah, Angel Grove is all fucked up, but
And then you find and he definitely, like, I can't believe you guys can't see the difference between the third Gamera and like the other two.
I mean, if I put them side by side, I'm sure I can.
Like, his shell is even different. Like, his whole head is different. Like, his whole head like looks more like.
I mean, I've probably seen it more in the third, but like, thinking back, I can't think of
the first two is definitely like you could sort of differentiate, but it's not like as apparent. Like me, who has like all the figures and everything, I'm like, okay, this is the difference here,
right? Yeah.
But like the third one's design overall is my favorite. I think I really like the third one a lot. But so we go to Gamera destroys like half Shibuya, and everybody's like, God damn, maybe he's not out to save us after all. And then there's that shot where somebody it's not Kusanagi, somebody saves that little kid, and they have the shot where like it's from his viewpoint, and Gamera's like stomping like towards him and is like right over top of him. And it's like a scene out of a Godzilla movie. Like it's all fire lit, and you're seeing him as the antagonist instead of the hero. But you guys have to fill me in on this because I'm blurry until the third act.
The movie proper starts, and we follow that Ayana, who was the girl whose parents died, and she got relocated with her family. And
her aunt and uncle.
Yeah, and
she hates.
Yeah.
We find out that there's a boy simping over her.
Hardcore.
And he is the next head of his family, who is in charge of keeping this shrine sealed away, which these girls are bullying her and make her go into the shrine to like bring out the rock. And then we talk to her grandma, and she's like, yeah, no normal human can carry that rock.
Or no, it's his grandma.
Yeah, his grandma. And her and him are walking around, and then baby Iris shows up, and she keeps on coming back and like nurturing it. And we get a little bit of a tease of its ability when it sucks all the tuna out of the can with one of its fanged things.
Yeah.
But at that point, I thought that the kid really should have sealed away Iris. Like, after she went away, he has that huge knife. He should have just fucking killed Iris right there.
Yeah.
Well, because then we find out it's killing people.
Well, yeah. It killed her family.
Was it... I can't remember. Was there 2 stages of... At what point does
there were
Iris...
2 stages of baby Iris. There was one where it had just like little tentacles, and it was like no bigger than like a laboratory.
Okay.
And then it started to get like
the one that's kind of big. It kind of looks like a Lapras almost.
Yeah. Because it starts to like stand up like on its like tentacles and stuff.
That one, like, I don't know why I found it actually kind of adorable.
The baby. Or the Lapras.
I think it was the Lapras one. It was like just as big as the girl.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I just thought it.
No, baby Iris was cute.
Yeah.
Till it grew to full size, and then
when it's full size, it's a whole different story. But...
Some weird alien looking thing.
Yeah, it was too much.
We'll get there, but
I don't remember the whole deal with like the game developer. Like he was running simulations about if Gamera would destroy the world or something, and like mana throughout the world.
You just made me think of something throughout this whole trilogy. The amount of Sega Dreamcast in these freaking movies, like they must have had some thing with Sega because like they're just all over. Like the scientist dude has one like in his lab hooked up to his TV, like or his computer or some shit.
But I don't remember. He was like a game developer that made that thing that ran simulations about world-ending disasters, and then he was at the climax of the movie. He was just like watching Iris attack Gamera, and he was like he was like basically like profiting the end of the world. Like I can't remember about it.
Oh, that guy, the super anime guy.
Yeah. He's like, I mean,
well, you didn't watch it in English. The English dub for this guy, I was like, just shut up. Like it's.
I vaguely remember that guy, but I think I like pushed that out. Like, nah.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to the English dub, like, you could tell that whoever directed is there a director for the English dub? I don't know how that all works.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
Clearly, the director for the English dub was like, "This guy's super anime. Just sound like your typical anime guy."
It was just really bizarre. The human plotline in this is the weakest out of all 3 of them.
See, I found myself actually liking this with the girl.
Like, it's compelling. Yeah. It's compelling because she's like, oh, Gamera killed my family. I want to take revenge. But other than that, it's fucking terrible. I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. That I think that's one. That's definitely a plus for me. Is her story.
Yeah.
that part of the human drama works for me, but from the other two, like I said, I watched the first one with Shawn, and I didn't get a chance to watch 2 or 3 because I remember almost nothing about the human aspect of 3, except for that Ayana wanted revenge on Gamera.
Yeah.
Which, that's where I was like, okay, I buy into that. Everything else, out the window. I just rattled off Gamera 2, which I haven't watched in years, and I remember all the human stuff from that, but I remember almost nothing from...
See, it came out of this trilogy. Since we're on the third one, it's fine to say this or whatever, finally, but I found myself liking 1 and 3 more than 2, but
I probably like 1 and 3.
it also could be that I watched 2 late at night, and like the other ones I was more maybe awake for.
Yeah.
So I was kind of paying more attention.
Because 1 and 3, you could watch 1 and then 3.
Mm-hmm.
You could skip Legion. You could watch 1 and 3 and have a consistent story.
Yeah.
But 2 isn't necessary, and I think that's why I like 1 and 3, is because you could just put those side by side and be like, oh, yeah.
Like, you're probably gonna hate me, but I think that the CGI and the effects on Iris, fucking terrible.
Yeah, they weren't great.
In the flying scenes, I think they were bad.
There's this one scene where Iris, like full-size Iris, is walking up the mountainside, and it is the worst, like,
it's
green
so
screen.
awful.
Like,
I'm like, it was like distracting.
Yeah,
he's like flying around. He looks like an angel
Yeah.
from Evangelion. It's like, this is fucking bad.
Oh, I mean, it looked anime as fuck.
Oh, and I hated how, like, she was, like, fusing with Iris to, like, become evolving into, like, a world destroyer, I guess. And Gamera just, like, rips her out of him.
Well, that's the yin and yang. Whereas the amulet that Gamera had was Kusanagi, where Ayana finds another type of amulet, which is the Gamera Ender, which would be Iris.
That is
where that yin and yang. Well, actually, the Gamera isn't Iris part of. Iris has something to do with the Gauss,
alien,
but it has something to do with the Gauss because they do mention that it's tied to Gauss somehow.
It was eating them, and that's how it evolved.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was like sucking their life, and that's how it became that thing.
So it is.
Well, yeah, because that's how it opens. Is it a Gauss that had its life sucked away?
Yeah,
is in this town, and like the woman's like beating it with a
hoe. With a hoe, yeah. But that's one of the things that I like about it is you have the yin and yang because this comes from the Gauss, and it's the world ender, and then you have Gamera. So those yin and yang. It's a neat aspect to it. It's I won't say that it's executed perfectly, but it's a nice concept.
I kind of wish somebody would have got a Gamera one, and that like they would have just battled.
I liked it.
Would have been
they
like a
beat
Pokemon
the shit
battle.
out of each other. No, the humans just beat the shit out of each other.
You could have them fighting, and then the big ones fighting in the back.
I thought that was gonna happen because they bring Kusanagi back, but I like how Gamera like essentially severed his connection with the humans because there's like a million of the broken shards or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that is part of 2 when Kusanagi's connection got severed, and that's why Gamera is like now everyone's questioning his allegiance because he's no longer connected to the human race. He's just kind of doing this to rid the Gauss. He's not there to protect. He's not there to protect anyone. Because he almost stomps on that kid. And as we saw in the first one, when he, like, protects them from the Gauss. Like, we don't see that until towards the end, where Gamera, of his own will, saves them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really, like, give a shit in the first 2 acts of the movie.
Yeah, he's kind of a bastard.
I like it. I like that aspect of it.
One thing I want to mention is that dickhead from the beginning that worked for the government. He's in this and he turned a new leaf. He's like, oh, they made me head of the giant monster division. Yeah. So he's like, I realize maybe capturing giant monsters to study them isn't what we should do now.
Yeah, he finally like realized.
I was gonna mention like we're the third movie we haven't talked about that guy. He's such a dick.
Yeah, he was
the the cop, we find out, is
No,
just,
no, not the cop.
no, but we find
There's
out
a
that
nice
the cop is
redemption
just
of
drunk in the park
Yeah.
because he sees the Gauss, and then that's where he flips out. He's like, the Gauss have returned, and he's like flipping out.
Yeah, that was a nice little redemption that he had, where
Yeah.
she
And the scientist girl comes
She
up to
comes
him.
back, yeah.
She comes up to him and was like, "You look familiar," you know.
Yeah, that, like I said, you can watch 1 and then 3 and
Yeah.
miss nothing.
One thing that I wish would have happened is that Iris would have been destroyed by the knife that he had, like to steal him away, because he like throws it at Iris and it hits, and then that
Just like tink.
yeah, and then she like drops Iana, and then after that he goes down and gets the knife. But I wish that they would have killed Iris with the sealing away knife.
I forget already. What was the point of the knife?
It's ceremonial.
supposed to
Yeah, it was supposed to make
kill it?
sure that it
Never
Iris
got
is
out.
sealed away. Yeah,
Okay.
because they woke it up when they went in there.
So you're supposed to kill it before it falls.
Yeah.
Basically.
Before it picks its host and
Yeah.
starts to...
Well, I guess it got big because of it sucking up the life
Yeah.
of the gals, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
But yeah, the design of Big Iris is like the most like bullshit
It's way too much.
Power Ranger, like bottom barrel Power Ranger.
Yeah.
I like Iris. I like Iris's design.
It
It's
was just
always
too
been-
much for me. There's too much going on.
It's insane.
It's always been interesting to me, and I kind of see what they were trying to do. They were trying to mix Gauss, Legion, and their own thing into it to like make this the amalgam of every Gamera
I see what you're
villain.
saying there, like almost like a, you know,
Like it's every one of Gamera's past
Yeah.
like come back to finally destroy him.
right?
Which I was like, that's kind of cool. I always liked the design. I mean, to each their own. I know a lot of people hate the Iris design, but I kind of like
I mean,
it.
it's not even actually really Power Ranger-y, but it's more like, I think you said it earlier, like it's super anime looking. Like it looks like a Gundam or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does look like a Gundam.
And its roar is just like a whale call. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Oh, I have no further input. I'm not the biggest fan of this movie.
You want to talk about the ending in the train station? Where everything goes
Well,
ass over
yeah,
tits.
Yeah, just like completely. I have no idea. That woman, Ayana, like drops the amulet, and that woman goes and picks it up. And that game developer, I forget why he's even there, is like, "Hey, it's not gonna work," because she wanted to fuse with Iris, and then he's like, "It's not gonna work," and then that fucking thing dropped on her and killed her.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I forgot all about that shit. But then so we reach the climax of the movie where Gamera is again being beaten by Iris and getting stabbed.
Gamera's always getting his ass whooped.
Stabbed
he got stabbed like
repeatedly,
crazy.
back through the shell, through the stomach. Then he got his hand pinned through the building.
That was cool.
That was
That was awesome.
Yeah.
You have to admit that was cool.
That was awesome.
And in order to
get free.
because Iris was charging up its beam to like decimate Gamera, and as it's charging up, his hand's pinned, and he just blows it off with a fireball, dodges it, and then gets that's a cool as hell shot because he puts the stump up, absorbs all the beam, and then he has a fire fist, which is the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because like he gets it and it's on fire, and then you just see him like clench it, and then he starts going towards Iris, and he reaches like through the torso to get Ayana, and then sticks the fire fist into Iris to blow it up, and when it blows up, it blows the fuck up.
Yeah.
And it like destroys the train station and everything, and then Ayana's saved, and then
Some king gets his girl.
and then she kind of realizes that maybe Gamera is not really like an enemy since he saved her.
Yeah.
Like from
I think she even when she wakes up finally, she's like something like "Why'd you save me?" or
And then we get the biggest cliffhanger in kaiju history,
yeah,
where the swarm of millions of Gauss are coming towards Gamera, and that's where the movie ends.
No, the military said to reroute their efforts to kill Gamera to defeat the Gauss.
Yeah. But I want to see that movie. I want to see the aftermath of that, because that's world ending. Millions of Gauss converging on one city that Gamera has to destroy them. That would be a cool. And there was a movie that
I was gonna say
there was not Gamera the Brave.
No, yeah,
This was called Gamera Truth or something like that.
it was released.
It was.
It's a fan made.
Yeah.
It's not like
Apparently, it's decent. I've never watched it.
yeah.
'Cause
Well, you can't.
Yeah, you can't find a copy of it.
No.
They actually did a screening
Mhm.
where lucky people got to see it, but it's
That's
lost.
the only time it's ever
yeah.
been seen.
Yeah, you can't see it anywhere, but it followed into that, and there was supposed to be a space Gauss in it too, I think.
Mm.
So it's like the aftermath of the war between Gamera and the Gauss. But like, I want to see that.
Yeah, because
shit.
it comes up when you Google this trilogy. It comes up, and I'm like, where the hell is this?
Yeah,
So like, I'm like sitting there trying to find it.
you can find the whole synopsis, and it tells you like everything that
Yeah.
happens in it, and you can find the suit. If you look up the suit, you can find like what it looked like the Gamera suit and the Gauss suit. You can find all that. But
I'll have to look at that.
yeah, like I guess there really isn't much else to say
Yeah.
about this movie. It's it definitely it has better effects in it. Like they really hit their stride with a lot of the shots in it. I won't say the whole movie looks great,
I like
but
all the Gamera stuff.
all the
looks great.
Gamera stuff looks great.
The fireballs look great, like all that.
All the
stuff.
shots of him walking in the city, like the composite shots of people getting blown away by the beams and everything. I mean, all that stuff looked great.
It's really just a bunch of the Iris stuff that just doesn't.
Yeah, I don't like
Yeah.
it at all.
Yeah, I mean the Iris stuff. It's not. It's slower than the first two. It's definitely slower than the first two because you're not. Because Iris, and I know why it's slow. It's because Iris isn't doing anything until the third act of the movie. You see Iris, but it's not like the Gauss where it's like, oh, we have a big threat. We got to try and find the Gauss. We got to trap the Gauss. Second one, Legion. We got all these little fucking bugs eating silicone, and then there's stuff going on that's interesting and fast paced. And then you get to this movie, and it's like Iris is not doing anything until the third act. You're relying on Gamera to carry it, but there's not enough. Like, you do that in the first act. You establish he's not exactly a hero right now.
Mhm.
But then you can't survive 2 acts on that.
Yeah.
But Iris isn't... Like, nobody knows about Iris except for Ayana. So there's nothing going on, like them trying to investigate this new monster or anything. And there's not enough Gauss... like stuff that, and I realized why they didn't, because it would have just been like the first movie.
Mm.
You would have had them finding Gauss, and then this thing shows up, and it's like, no, we're rerouting you. We're gonna find out what this thing is.
It's got to be because like I said, I had limited time to watch these, so like I forget what night it was, but I started the second one, and I got super tired. Like I fell asleep at one point. So I had to kind of find where to pick it back up. So like I watched the second one split up, and then I watched the third one right after I finished the second one the next day. But like that, I gotta rewatch the second one someday because I think the way I watched it, I just didn't have the appreciation for it. But like I said, I like 1 and 3 more, but I think it's because I was super tired when I watched the second one. So, but I don't know.
Well, I think that Iris, I didn't like the look of Iris at all. I think Legion is the best looking out of all of them. And the human storyline was the weakest out of all of them, with the exception of the compelling stuff about Ayana. So this was my least favorite of the trilogy. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10.
It's fair. That's fair. Mike?
I mean, for right now, like I said, with what I'm saying, I gotta rate it how I feel at the moment, and in the moment, I feel like it's a 6 out of 10. Like it's right up there with the other one.
I would probably have to stick it a 6.5. These movies are consistent with their story. You have a lot of the same characters, and that's a selling point for me.
Yeah, that's my
because
favorite
a lot
part
of
is
kaiju stuff.
The people are
You
still there.
abandon good characters that you had in the first movie,
Yeah.
and a new producer comes in and they're like, "Who the hell were these guys?" And they just like scrap that entirely. This one, you have characters come back in each movie. Like you have a connection. You always have a Soggy in those movies where you're like, oh, okay, which is Steven Seagal's daughter, by the way.
Yeah. I noticed that.
So, but I mean, you always have consistency in these movies. I think the effects get better with each movie. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to stick it at 6.5. Like I said, I ranked the second one a little bit higher because of the way things were executed. Like I said, this movie's concept the third movie's concept was good. It just needed to be executed differently.
Yeah. If it was executed better, I think it would be the best one.
Yeah.
But I just didn't.
If it was executed more like one, I think it would have been better. But I agree with Shawn. The first movie's human storyline is far superior to the other two. The second one's not too bad. The third one, like I said earlier, I was in a blur between first act and third act because I really didn't remember much that happened in between.
In the moment, I found myself really liking all the Iona stuff. But
oh yeah, like she's the only
good part about the movie.
Yeah, she's the only thing that like really carries it.
Aside from the action, which is
like I can't even think what other human stuff there is. There's probably I know there's some military stuff. I don't remember what the hell they even did.
I don't even remember the military stuff, to be honest. Like I remember them talking about like fighting Gamera, and they're like, "Hey, we shouldn't do that." And they're like, "Why? He's blowing up shit."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh yeah, I guess you're right." But
I think my rating for the second one would be higher if I rewatched it. And the reason I even have it level with these two for me is because of our discussion about the fight in that movie. Like, because that fight was amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that one would end up being the highest one if I rewatched them. But
yeah, the overall, I think that the reboot of Gamera is it's something that has never been done in a kaiju movie, like a franchise like that, where you have your original movies that you did back in the 60s to the 80s that were complete garbage, and then somehow you turn it into something great.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I don't even know if I want to go back and try to watch any of the other ones.
You don't. I mean, you do just to say you did.
I know,
but you also will just be thoroughly disappointed.
Because, like I said at the beginning, I started that other one, and I mean, when I say I started it, I'm like 3 minutes in or something,
and then you just are like,
and I'm like, this is gonna be rough.
this ain't it, Chief. But honestly, I mean, like that's just how those movies are. They're pure. Shut your brain off and just watch the dudes in the rubber suits hit each other, because there's nothing else redeeming about it. But yeah, I mean, like Gamera was the laughing stock. Like it was all like MST3K would review the Gamera movie. Well, they would riff the Gamera movies, and they were that's kind of how most people know Gamera is, from MST3K, because they just made fun of the movies, and how can you not? But these ones are actually like they completely flipped the status quo on Gamera.
When you look up Gamera, because I needed to research stuff after I started watching these, like he's held in pretty high regard.
Oh yeah, especially after that trilogy came out.
Yeah,
everybody's like, "Damn, these are good."
And like you just said, it must be because of that trilogy. Because
there's something that you need to watch that I'll link you to.
Okay.
It was a short film that everyone thought was a trailer for a new Gamera movie back in 2015.
I've seen people on YouTube like raving about it.
You gotta watch that.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a new Gamera movie, and I was so excited.
Yeah.
Because it is so good, and then it turned out it was just a short film.
Okay, was there not actually another one coming?
Nope.
Okay, because like I saw videos about like, oh, reboot's canceled, blah blah blah, or something.
No, it was never a reboot. Everyone thought it was, and
Yeah.
it turned out it was just a short film. But it is incredible. But Katakawa Pictures, which purchased Dai Studio, they just renewed the license for Gamera. So maybe someday they'll have something new coming out. I mean, with Shin
what
Godzilla...
is it? 2006 was the last one then? The Brave?
Yeah, The Brave, which wasn't that great. Gamera doesn't even have his roar in that movie.
Oh.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid. But maybe they'll have a new one. I mean, with the success of Shin Godzilla and, kaiju movies back on the rise,
Yeah.
now's the time for Katakawa to write another Gamera movie on par with these ones, so we can have some good...
Maybe we'll get number 4 for real.
Ooh, that would be cool. That would actually be really cool. I'd like that.
All right. Well, we did it. There's our
We
discussion on Gamera. And we have a recommendation.
Week two of the trilogies. Will
Yeah.
there be a third?
From myself. And like you said, you had a trilogy.
Oh,
Aaron
had a
son
of a bitch.
I'm not going to do a trilogy.
Oh, okay.
I am, however. I'm throwing a curveball in, and we're doing a double feature.
All right.
And it's not a franchise or anything. They're just related movies. And you can find them both on Disney Plus.
Oh, thank God.
So we'll be able to watch them in a timely manner.
Good.
The first one I want to watch is 2002 Treasure Planet.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay.
It's
I think I've seen it.
I have.
I'm
not gonna say anything.
It's a space operatic version of the
Treasure Island.
which is a well-known storyline. And that is why my second film recommendation is going to be 1996's Muppet Treasure Island.
Oh, Jesus.
I thought you were going to say Jack Black's Gulliver's Travels.
I own that somewhere. I've never watched that. But...
So there you go. If you want to not be spoiled for Treasure Planet and the Muppet Treasure Island next time, watch them before our next episode. Thanks for listening and watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed our discussion of Gamera Trilogy. We enjoyed having it. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Sayonara.